So, you've got some new music that you want to test out with an audience. Maybe there's a song that you just really like to play and you want to jam it. Maybe you're trying to get over some stage fright and you're practicing exposure therapy. Either way, you found yourself at an open mic. Your slot's coming up, so how are you going to maximize your chance to get what you want out of it? These are simply my opinions, and if you care to listen, I'd be more than happy to tell you about 3 things you can do to make sure that you rock the open mic. Well, there's really 4 things. Actually, 5 things. I mean, we'll get to that. Let's start with tip number 0. Be authentic. Or I should probably do it this way. If you aren't being you, no one is going to want to listen to you. You can be authentic while still being a character. So even if you face it in your own way by hiding it somewhat, it's still you up there performing at the end of the day. The only way that it wouldn't be you up there is that if your heart truly isn't into doing this kind of art, or if you have scopophobia. The crowd's going to be able to tell how much of you is up there. And if you aren't having fun, then the crowd surely isn't going to be having fun. All right, this next one is going to kind of hurt for my fellow introvert, ambivert folks out there. But avoid saying sorry and self-deprecating jokes. This includes things like how wasted you are on stage.
But I'm rolling deep, and those cars are going real fast and real laugh, son.
It's kind of an immediate vibe killer, at least in my personal opinion, whenever I'm at open mics and I hear people saying sorry after like every little thing. I understand it can be a coping mechanism or a self-defense kind of thing, because I've been guilty of that as well. Doing things like this is how you get over it. So I'm not saying that you should never do it, which is why I phrased it as avoid saying sorry and self-deprecating jokes, because I've definitely made self-deprecating jokes on stage before. Reverting to self-deprecating jokes, it projects that nervousness that you're feeling onto the crowd and makes the crowd feel a little bit nervous, because I mean, you're not really selling yourself. You know, the crowd really just only wants you to succeed. You know, it's okay to mention nerves. A lot of times when you mention nerves, you'll get like a woo, you know, off to the side, because someone's like trying to support you because you're up on stage. You're doing the thing. You're conquering your fear. You're taking a step to get over that. And that is very admirable in my eyes as well as a lot of people's eyes. One of the songs in my open mic repertoire, I play with a looper sometimes, is I have Tornado of Souls. And that solo is a son of a bitch. It's tough. It's fast. It's whittly. It's diddly. It's D. It's all the above. There was one night where I took it a little too fast, and the solo came out kind of funky, and I there was a point where I kind of lost it, and I just kind of stopped, and it was like, I may have taken it a little too fast. Like things like that, you know, self-deprecating, you know, apologizing kind of thing. There is a way to have that energy get over, but it's very unlikely to happen if you're clamming up. And by clamming, I mean you're playing so nervously with so much tension in your entire body that you pretty much double over and shrivel into a corn cob. So that's the real first point, is to try and avoid saying sorry, try and avoid self-deprecating jokes. There's moments where you can pull it off and have it land. Overall, it's just kind of best to avoid and really just kind of play it by ear. And this next one is pretty much the opposite of playing it by ear. I like to plan it like a gig. There's a place down the road from me that I usually hit up. When I first went, I played it pretty safe. I scoped out the venue. I kind of sat around, observed. The sound guy actually walked up to me. I had my guitar in my gig bag. I was just kind of sitting by the bar, and he was like, "Hey, did you sign up for open mic night?" And I was like, "No, where do I do that?" And he pointed me over to the whiteboard where you sign up. Scope out the venue, kind of observe what's going on, how people are interacting with, you know, people who are in the open mic, who are running open mic, things like that. Try and start up a conversation with a regular, the bartender, or if you're at a coffee shop, the barista, the sound person themselves, any stuff like that. Or, if you have your gig bag, people might approach you. Learn the flow of the open mic. What's the structure of it? What kind of time frame do you play in? How many songs do you get? Are covers even allowed? What gear do they have? More often than not, if you have a guitar with a 1/4-inch jack, they're going to be able to accommodate you pretty seamlessly. Speaking of, time frame, songs, covers, and things like that, here's a little note on repertoire. Absolutely be yourself. Play the songs that you want to play. And play to the space. This is just a little stupid story of how I once got negged, but I was at a bar, the one that was across town that I don't really go to that much. And over there, it's kind of a, I don't know. It's not as bright or open and welcoming as the other place that I play at. And they play a lot of sad cowboy songs there, or at least that was some of the other folks that I saw playing there. That was kind of their vibe. There was one guy who brought in a whole Ableton session, and that was actually really fun. But yeah, I don't know. That was he had some beats and stuff that he was kind of doing a little bit of a flow over. I had a good time watching him do that. And I'll kind of expand on sort of that idea later. But they were playing a lot of sad cowboy songs. And for my first time there, I decided to be super bold and go first after the MC. Among the set lists that I had, Tornado of Souls was in there. And after I was done, someone was like, "Well, you're pretty lively for this place." I was me, but I definitely didn't really play to the space. It's not that you can't play anything you want. You sort of have to, I guess, pick and choose stuff like that. I don't know. Pretty much all that to say, do not be afraid of throwing wild cards out there to, a crowd that might not be entirely receptive to something like that. Because to me, it's always pretty fun to broaden people's horizons. And it's not to say that no one's ever heard Tornado of Souls, or whatever, or never seen someone do Marty Friedman solo or anything like that. One of my buddies that saw me do Tornado of Souls, he was like, I've never kind of pictured it in that kind of bedroom looper sort of context. And it's always fun to be able to be like, oh, I can actually make that work at an open mic. To me, that's always been pretty fun. That's always been kind of a little light bulb, dopamine brain blast thing. I don't know. Also, collaboration is amazing. You're in a room full of other musicians. Use that to your advantage. You are almost guaranteed to find someone that you will click with, that you have something in common with, that you'll be able to find one song with one person that you can be like, oh yeah, I know that one. I can do that one. Use that to your advantage. That's how bands start. That's how, groups form. Having that human connection. That's the whole point of the open mic, honestly, is to be able to be in a room full of other musicians, free of charge, being able to use the venue's sound equipment to broadcast your music. That's really the beauty of the open mic, is the collaboration. So do not take that for granted. Use that at any conceivable point to your advantage. So the last part on my notes here says to try something different. And I mean this with all the love in my heart. I love singer-songwriters on acoustic guitar playing open chords with a capo. There's also a lot of you folks out there. The only reason that I am singling this group out is because of a question that I would like to pose to them. What's your goal with your music? If it's simply to express yourself, then by all means, please keep writing. Please use that as your therapy. Do not let anything that I am saying or anything anyone else says stop you from writing anything. And that goes for everyone. Anyone listening to this, watching this, whatever. Do not let anything that I am saying be the reason that you don't try something. Be the reason that you don't get out there. Be the reason that you don't get what you want out of the open mic experience. Because everyone goes into it with different goals. And I'm not trying to shit on anyone who simply wants that to just be a way that they express themselves. You know, I don't want that to be anything like that at all. There's just a lot of you guys out there. You know, on the flip side of that, to the other people, I'm not saying stop writing because you don't write this way. If your goal is to stand out with singer-songwriter, acoustic, open chord, capo stuff, it's just going to be hard because that market has been saturated for over 50 years at this point. From like advice that nobody asked for is, you know, experiment with your instrument. That's coming from someone in a glass house throwing stones, because I've been playing for 15 years and I still have roadblocks that I could be getting over. There are still blind spots in my playing that I haven't necessarily addressed. In spite of that, I feel that I've been able to develop my voice, whatever the fuck that means, on guitar, in music. Always wanted to do a shot like that. Editor Noah here. I am not trying to be pretentious with what I'm saying here. I'm not trying to make it sound like I'm some musical savant. I'm not trying to make it sound like I have all the answers or anything like that, because I don't. I'm a 25-year-old, still just bumming around, no one knows who I am, and just trying to do what I can do with what I got. Take this whole video with a grain of salt. I don't have the answers. No one really has the answers. I'm just putting what I think my answers for myself are. And this is really just kind of like my version of journaling. Just wanted to come in and address that. Take all of this with a grain of salt. Yeah, and now back to the video. A lot of folks in the singer-songwriter camp, to me, are singing with the same voice to keep the metaphor going. An example that I keep falling back on is Fleet Foxes. Father John Misty writes folksy guitar singer-songwriter type songs, and they have a very particular style and character about them that identifies them as his own. And I guess, you know, I'm sort of trying to be the change that I want to see in that sphere, because when I pull out my acoustic, it's mostly kind of rock and metal stuff. And I also do my own original stuff. I do Feeble Weasel, and then I do Revolution Time. Acoustic does not mean that it's just folk music or open chords, especially when it comes to technique. People like Geordie Little that do the knocking thing. It's like different tapping things that you can do, open tunings, you know, the whole thing. To sum everything up, tip number 0, be authentic. If you aren't being you, no one is going to want to listen to you. Avoid saying sorry or self-deprecating jokes. Note, avoid. You can make those jokes. Situation. There's a way to have the energy get over. It's not necessarily going to happen if you're clamming. See definition of earlier. Plan it like a gig. Scope out the venue. Try and develop rapport with some of the folks there. Learn the flow. Be you and play to the space. Don't be afraid of throwing curveballs at any point. Generally, it works a little bit better if you've developed a rapport with folks already, but you're an adult. Do what you want. Collaboration is amazing. Use musicians to your advantage. and try something different. Bust out the Ableton session. Bust out the looper. Bust out the didgeridoo. Bust out the harp. The Native American drone flute. And if you're bringing that out, please beatbox through it. Hey everyone, thanks for watching. I don't have much to promote here other than, check out my album and that I released, just last year. That kind of, slacked throughout the back half of the year. Sorry about that. Tried to put out a video a month. Didn't really work out. Some life stuff happened, and as you can see, I'm kind of in a different spot. Thank you for checking this out, and hope you guys have a happy new year. And yeah, see ya. Bye-bye.